Hey! How are you, boss?
How are you?
I'm good.
You're right.
I'm good. Wait there.
Good.
I'll just grab my stuff. You pop the boot.
What's happening? We're only going for 2 nights. You have seriously overpacked.
There's just one more. Hang on.
Oh, you're kidding.
Here. You'll like this one, though.
Oh, a picnic.
So, goji berries.
Amazing.
These things. Yeah?
Yeah. OK.
It's not real chocolate, that. It's chocolate that's good for you.
You've thought about this.
Damn straight.
Amazing.
I'll put it in the boot. If you get hungry, let me know.
Good man.
Hey.
Is that it?
I've got something to show you.
Not more.
I've packed my pyjamas. Hey? I'm kidding. I don't wear it anymore. All right. All right, let's go.
We hit the road.
Road trip.
Road trip, here we
Party
go.
on, Wayne.
Is this going to be like a stag weekend? Is it all going to kick off?
I hope not.
Are we going to be emptying the minibar?
I can't stand stag do's. Can you?
I don't think I've ever been to one.
Really?
Yeah.
When I got married, we just had we played football in the day and then went out in the evening, and then... But now it's like stag do's lasted. People go, I'm going to Poland for a week.
Right.
Why did you agree to do this documentary?
I think it's a good time to tell this story of what's happened in the last sort of few months. It's closed the door on a pretty rubbish time for me.
It's the greatest story of the modern pop music era, the Gary Barlow story, bar none.
For him to be called a survivor at 40 is quite something. He could have gone one way, but he's gone completely the other.
You can't point to it anywhere in musical history that this has happened. You know, he's a true Renaissance man.
Throughout it all, he realised that music was never going to turn its back on him, and eventually it's what saved him.
Last month, Gary Barlow played a sold-out arena tour across the UK. Yet only a decade ago, this would never have been thought possible. But Gary Barlow has become one of Britain's best-loved pop stars. He also happens to be mine. For years, I've been watching Gary at gigs, buying his albums and doing his dance routines. Now I've got the chance to spend a few days with him, travelling across the country, finding out the truth about his remarkable story. It's 2 months until Gary goes on his arena tour, so first stop on our road trip is the studio for band rehearsals.
Hey, boys. Hey. This is James, everyone.
Hi.
What do you want to sing?
No, I'll just watch whatever you know. Absolutely not.
You know, you really don't just want to watch, though. We
No,
all
I do
know
right
it.
now. I'll sit over here.
Just checking shine just for levels.
Levels, yeah. I've just got no mic.
If Gary's mic's not up, guys, we can probably just start and you join in, Gaz, when you're ready.
Oh, that's
OK, count me in, Mike.
I actually thought that was Gary there.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
You're such a big star to me, everything I wanna be, but you're stuck in a hole, and I want you to get out.
So, we found some clips. We've done some digging.
Don't have to dig very deep, do you, for good clips of me?
Some of these you do.
Really?
Some of these you've got to dig deep. And I thought it might be fun for us to watch them together and
Fun
talk
for
about
you
them.
or me?
Both.
He's got a briefcase.
Briefcase. What? First question, what's with the briefcase?
Ah, some music in it.
He was always into music, always into singing, always into playing the piano. That seemed to be the environment in which he grew up in.
Anyone who really wanted a career in music, you sacrifice what I always refer to as the BMX years of your childhood. Those times when your mates are going out on the bikes or the skateboards, those years don't exist for a musician because you're in your bedroom learning your instrument. And Gary was exactly that same model.
Well, he had to grow up fast, didn't he, because he was working in the working men's clubs. So as a 15-year-old man, he had to deal with guys who'd had 4 pints of bitter on a Saturday afternoon and were shouting abuse at him. You know, what a great education that is for any performer.
So this is your last performance at the British Legion. You're
I don't think I want to watch
the
this.
headliner.
I don't. You're not going to make me sit
Here
through
it
this,
comes,
are you?
because you kill it. Listen though, listen to the tension.
No, I'm dying.
What? Hang on a minute, Sheila. Who's coming on?
Oh, James, I
Brian,
can't
sit
watch
down.
it.
Brian, sit down. Gary's
Can't
on.
watch it.
Why
This
is
is
it-
going to be like that Boyzone
Oh, it's
clip.
dramatic. Oh, it's worse than that, buddy. Look at the trousers. Move the stand. Move the stand.
Look at the trousers.
You ready?
No, I know what's coming.
No, watch it. You got to watch it.
I know it.
No, watch. Show me.
I can't bear it.
No, come on. You
I
have to
can't
watch
bear
it.
it. I
You have
can't
to.
believe you're making me sit
on.
through this.
Come on. Oh, there it is. Here we go.
Oh, God.
It was clear that the 600 or so gigs that Gary did at the Working Men's Club had a huge effect on him.
Thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Gary Barlow, star of the future.
So our next stop was up to Runcorn to visit the place where Gary learned so much. Right, here we go. Look at the curtain.
You can see this is special.
Here we go. Wow.
Hi,
Gary!
Chris. How are you, mate?
I know, you've come for that tenor, right? Oh, yeah?
How are you?
doing?
Yeah, I'm
Lovely to
good.
see
This
you.
is James.
James, I
This
knew
is
you.
Chris.
I knew you'd be here because I seen the road was cordoned off.
Hey!
Chris was the compere when
I
I
was
was,
the
here,
compere.
which is how long ago now? I mean,
Well, when I came here, you were 15.
right.
Yeah.
And you're still the compere now?
I'm still the compere, yeah. Look a bit different.
You don't
But I'm
look
still
much
here.
different.
Oh, thank you, Gary. The story I like to tell is the one about when you come walking out with a piece of paper. I said, hey, Chris, I've written this song. Any chance of singing it? So I got in the mic and said, ladies and gentlemen, Gary has written this song. Could you all be quite attentive? And when he's finished singing it, give him a big clap. And I always remember, you put it up like that, you blow in the mic. Put your head against my life. What do you hear? And then you got this rapturous applause at the end of it, you know.
So would that have been the first time you maybe performed a million love
Yeah,
songs? Would have been here?
Because
Yeah.
I only ever used to sing here, so...
Yeah, he was quiet, shy, and he was a good dancer.
I don't know, somewhere along the line I lost that.
It's only the way,
Oh,
you,
yeah.
the way you remember things, isn't it? I think. What are we going to go for?
In honour of Phil Everly, this.
Dream, 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 dream when I want you in my arms when I want you and all your charms whenever I want you. All I have to do is dream. Dream.
So is it nice being back?
It's brilliant being back. Brilliant.
When was the last time you were here?
Oh, the night I left.
Really?
Yeah, I haven't
You've
been
not
back
been
since.
back
No.
since...
No. No.
Oh, I didn't
not
know
once. No, not once. Yeah.
And how integral do you think this place has been
Oh,
on your
crucial.
career? Really?
I think so. At 14, you know, with what I wanted to be and what I wanted to do, this was it. Just so exciting. This was a world older than me.
Yeah.
You know, and the people I were working with were 50.
Yeah.
40, 50 years old. So it makes you grow up really fast, that, when you're 14.
Yeah.
I tell you what it did. It made me hungry for what was next.
Have you always felt older than your time? It feels now like the age you are now suits you.
Yeah.
but you might have felt this age when you were...
Yeah, I've always felt older. I've always felt, whether I was in the band or in whatever situation I was in, that I was the responsible one.
And where does that come from, do you think?
I think it comes from starting here.
Really?
I think so, yeah.
Do you think the reason that you're cool now...
What?
The reason that you're cool... Even you are cool now. You know you are. Oh, come on.
No.
You know you're cool now.
That scares me.
All right, well, you're not that cool.
All right.
You're not Bruno Mars. I'm just... Don't get carried away. Cooler. The reason you're cooler now... The reason you're cooler now is that deep down you've just always been 42.
Maybe.
And you've just hit your peak now. And then it's going to just...
I'm worried now, because I'm 43 next week.
I know. Well, this is where the wheels start to come off, really.
Maybe you're right.
Yeah. I've made some music for our journey.
Have you?
Yeah. What have we got here? Oh, you know what this is? Great tune.
This is the American version.
Great. Oh, is it? The American version?
Yeah. Yeah,
we want me to go.
Yeah. We re-recorded it.
Why don't you beg me to stay for love and talk the way we used to talk until we both know what was lost?
Why this one?
Say it's a whole mix.
Oh,
it's a whole mix. It's the whole back catalogue. Love ain't here anymore.
Do you like this one?
Yes. No, love ain't here anymore. Come on, take it big, Gary, go.
It's gone away to a town called yesterday.
Love ain't here anymore. Right, let's see what else we've got. Hang on.
Oh, here it is, the classic.
This is going to be huge. Huge fun of him. Okay, go.
Only they on you.
Jump!
It's been till they took my breath.
Energy!
It's been nice to play.
Me, myself, I'd rather be alone again. So you can do what you like. Come on, guys, go.
Do what you
Come on.
Maybe I'm driving.
Do what you like. Nothing to tell me. Massive.
You're not as cute as me. Could never be as cold as you.
At the time when they first emerged, they were a bit of a comedy act because they were all about the dance routines and the image, carefully constructed by Nigel Martin Smith.
I first started to take that when I was working on The Word. The Word always had this novelty side to it, and I remember being shown the video of these bunch of boys throwing jelly at each other and kind of cavorting around, and all of us kind of clustered around my desk and looking at this video and just going, oh my God, what the hell is that?
Standing back, I can't believe.
So it was sort of thrown into this situation, a musician all of a sudden having to then learn what the other boys already knew, which was dance moves and, you know, being cool kids on the block sort of thing. Gaz wasn't. He was a geek from Frodsham that liked synthesizing.
Now, just talk me through a second. Cycling apparel is big. And you've gone, guys, I'm not going to wear a shirt. I'm just going to wear this neckerchief. Oh. And what on the bottom?
I can't remember.
What are you going to wear on the bottom? I'm going to wear my red cycle shorts if anyone's got a belt. That would be great. It's an amazing look. It's an incredible look.
Group of lads.
This is Nigel Martin Smith now.
Could become as big as, if not bigger than, New Kids on the Block.
I tell you what I find amazing, though, is his confidence to say, I think I've found 5 boys who are going to be as big.
And it wasn't for camera, that.
No.
He used to tell us that.
But him saying, I think I've done it, really, I think, says a lot about him, that he could spot.
So I'm just recovering from that last clip still. You've hit me with some really bad stuff. That's the stuff we're trying to get off the internet, that. We've just added.
It's going on now. It's on iPlayer now.
It was clear that Nigel Martin Smith had a huge impact on Gary's career, so we took a trip to Manchester to meet up with his old manager.
Aha! Look who's here.
How lovely to meet you.
How are you? I'm all right.
Yeah, I'm good. Nigel, tell us where we are now.
Right, this is the place that Take That very first performed. It's where we auditioned, all the band, and they all sang individually on a stage over there. The first member of Take That was actually Mark Owen, and it was going to be a completely different band initially. It was only when this one came in with his songwriting talent that I thought,
Nigel, I didn't know Mark was the first member.
Yeah.
You know he's going to say that forever now.
Yeah, that's it.
Every time he's got, you know, we're saying, I don't know about that idea, Mark. I was the original member.
What do you remember about this day coming here? Were you nervous? Did you all watch each other, or did you
we
come
all
in
watched
individually?
each other.
So you watched Howard, Jason and Mark, and you watched their auditions.
And then you had to sing, and everyone was a bit nervous singing, but obviously I wasn't nervous at all, because it's what I did.
He was showing off.
I was showing off.
Yeah. It was looking at Jason going, well, I can't dance like that, but I can sing like this.
I was.
Yeah.
The dancing was the bit I was dreading the most. I didn't really want to be in a band, if I'm honest, but there was something there. I liked being part of a team that day. We were up there all together, all going through the same thing.
As we went into the second album and everything started hitting #1, I just remember the pandemonium and the fans. It felt like we hadn't seen something like that for a decade or so.
They were just bigger than you can imagine a pop group being. Everything about it was right. The songs were catchy. The way they looked was great.
I mean, they won everything. You know, they won all the Smash Hits awards. And, of course, magazines were still huge at the time. And they were on the front cover of everything all the time.
You know, part of the reason I wanted to sit here today with Nigel was, you know, when I look back in the history of my career, Nigel is the true person who plucked me from the population and went, I'm going to believe in you.
So, tell me about how this relationship first started.
This, what I'm about to show you, was my way into your office.
Oh, yeah.
I was sending out at the time, like a tape and a photograph to lots of managers. And this, Nige, is what came to your office.
That's that. That is... That's quite...
Come on, look at that.
I know, well, how could I refuse?
Why would I have had a photo shoot like that?
It looks like Annie Lennox.
It's the armpit hair that really makes it.
If you remember, what happened was you came in to see me, and at the end of it, he mentioned that he was a singer in the clubs. He said, and I am a songwriter. Well, you know, you hear that all the time, I write songs, but they're usually awful, you know, and he was only 19. So I said, well, drop me a cassette off then. So I put the cassette on, and A Million Love Songs came on straight away, and I thought, I asked him to send me his songwriting, because it was a great song, obviously a cover, a Barry Manilow cover or a Neil Diamond cover. I rang him up and I went, I thought you were going to give me a cassette of your songs. And he said, I have. And I said, A Million Love Songs? You wrote A Million Love Songs? And he went, yeah. So I said, can you come back straight away? So he did, and that was the start of it, because I was like, and I was shaking, I was thinking, wow, this was the first time where I knew I'd got something that could actually be quite hot property.
When Take That emerged on the scene, the bands that I was loving were Oasis, and it was Blur, it was Nirvana, and so Take That were a complete anathema. You know, I really, really didn't want to know about the world, I didn't care about the world, I didn't like the music they were making. I guess it all changed when Back for Good came out.
I guess now it's time.
That was one of those things where no matter how much you might have disliked the music, and you heard Back for Good and you were like, OK, I cannot deny this is a great, great song.
It wasn't until the Ivor Novellas, where Gary won all those awards, where people started seeing him as a songwriter. And I think Back for Good probably was the point really where people started to talk about them as a band who could write songs, and Gary as a great songwriter.
Well, I think Take That was his opportunity to kind of prove himself, and also to be, if I'm in a boy band, I just want us to be the biggest and the best boy band in the world.
Gary was proving himself, but occasionally it was to the detriment of the other members. Cracks and frustrations were beginning to show as Gary started to dominate their music.
Wasn't Robbie meant to sing lead vocal on Relight My Fire?
I think...
Is that true?
He was.
He did. He went in, and I got a call off the producer late in the night saying we've had him in all night and it's just not working. And so the next day, I just thought, I'm just going to do it. In defence of everyone else, I should have said to everyone that I'm going to go and do a vocal today. There's a few things
That
in
you
that
look
time
back
which,
and go,
believe me, still come up. And I just went in, I thought, I'll do this, bang, and I did it. I just did it in a way that upset people.
When you decided to call it a day, like, were you involved in that decision?
Well, I was quite involved, I think. It became very obvious that the band had begun to, after Robbie left, start going wrong, I think.
Because it wasn't the band then, it was like, it was the band minus somebody, and so it was a different band. I think it felt natural. It felt natural to go, let's call it a day at the top.
The pop group Take That have confirmed they're to split up after 3 years of success, including 7 #1 hits.
And from today is no more.
When Take That split, it was massive. Any celebrity journalist would remember that time like other people talk about remembering President Kennedy being shot. It was a huge story.
I think a measure of Take That's success and fame was when the phone line was set up when they split up. You know, if you think that Newsround can be a Take That special, and John Craven can dedicate 50 minutes to the breaking up of a band, that's when you realise that it's transcended just pop music.
Do you realise that you're one of the few people on Earth who's managed to get better looking as they've got older?
Well, let's face it, in the last 10
You're
years...
like a great cheese.
I've not been that attractive in the last 10 years, in all honesty. You know what? The first thing I didn't want to be is I didn't want to be a fat dad.
Yeah.
Just didn't want my kids going, here's mummy and here's daddy. I dreaded it. And you know what? I've got an attractive wife, you know. And when we got married...
Said yeah a little too confidently then.
Yeah, just cool it off. Cool it off.
You know, and you didn't even realise you say so.
I know,
I've got a very attractive wife, big time.
That's right. And when I married her, I was a fairly attractive husband, and
No, you were.
I was.
Today sees the release of Gary's first solo single. Robbie's comes out at the end of the month. What's going on? Is this a serious spat or is it all hype?
I think it is. I mean, I think really it's one-sided, though. It is really coming all from Robbie. Gary knows that he's going to be a big, big, big star. Robbie, you know...
He'd make a great comedian, a great presenter. He's a good singer.
But whether or not he can write good songs still remains to be seen.
How wrong was that?
Yeah.
The problem is that you don't choose to be what people think about you. People just assumed, oh, he's going to be the next George Michael, he's going to have a huge solo career and all the rest of it. It's an odd thing when everything's built up around you that eventually you believe it.
I intend on doing some work and trying to do an album of my own.
I've got my own studio, so I'm writing songs all the time.
Hopefully in the top 5 in America.
I think Gary probably played it wrong. Maybe there was just a slight hint of arrogance at the time. I think he probably thought himself that he would release an album, be #1, be loved. When you have a boy band, there are people there to make up for your weaknesses. When you go alone, you have to fill those roles yourself. He wasn't quite as good when he was on his own in interviews. He wasn't quite as charismatic on stage at that point. I think he probably struggled with the full package.
Coming up next is my special performance from LA of my single So Help Me Girl, live on Top of the Pops.
So help me, girl, you've gone too far. It's way too late.
At that point, I think Britain was tired of the ballad. You were entering laddism. I think Britpop was a huge thing. It was all about being a bit rock and roll. And then you've got Gary releasing another ballad-heavy album, sat behind the piano. And I don't think people wanted that at the time.
But meanwhile, on the other side of the street, something was going on.
This absolute bomb came into the charts, which was Robbie, and the bomb went off and it obliterated Gary because the candle burned brighter for Robbie Williams.
My name is Robbie Williams. This is my band. And for the next 2 hours, your ass is mine.
Gary really received the brunt of Robbie's bitterness over Take That. He really did play a part in forcing Gary into the misery he was in for so many years.
Robbie was always on hand to do a bit of Gary bashing, and Robbie's very funny, and it was good copy.
I regret that Gaz became part of my shtick for too long. Even through, you know, when I used to say bad things about Gaz, I still loved him tremendously. You know, I think that's why I was so hurt, and the bitterness was because I loved that person. You know, my hurt came out in anger and aggression and nastiness. And when that goes away, all that's left is the love.
It was just everywhere. The papers you read, the TV programmes you watched, the radio stations you listened to, everyone was sticking the boot into Gary Barlow.
They call him a national treasure now. He was a national joke then. He was the butt of every weak, terrible line that they had to come up with. They couldn't write him off enough. You know, it was shameful.
Poor Gary, you're thinking. Going down the gym couldn't save his career, and here he
Barlow
is.
never struck me as being clever. He's a nice guy, but he can't sing, he can't dance, and he can't write songs.
Gary, thanks so much for inviting us round to your house today.
Hi, Franz. How you doing? All right? Eh? GB in the house, getting down with my hose. Yeah? Give me 5, please.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah? Yeah? Thanking you.
I remember presenting Top of the Pops one time, and Gary was there as a solo artist, and things were not going very well for him at all. And both of us standing in the wings while a band were playing and doing their take, and Gary could not have looked more forlorn and more pathetic, I guess, in a really sad way. I don't mean in a horrible way. But at that time, I just thought, wow, it's all over. It really is all over for him.
There's a slight myth that the first album didn't do so great. It was actually the second one. And even if it had probably had a big hit lurking on it, it probably wouldn't have gone through. The media wouldn't have taken it seriously. They were just on to the next thing.
What we knew about him was what was said about him by other people, which is Gary Barlow's finished. Gary Barlow is embarrassing. Gary Barlow cannot write hit songs anymore. That's what we knew, because other people were creating that agenda for him. And he was just there thinking, what do I do now? Where do you go when something like that happens, when it all falls apart?
There's the dog. Hi.
Let me just get in before he jumps.
Get in, get in, you. Get in.
I was interested to meet Gary's mum, a lady who has always shied away from the spotlight and has never spoken on camera before.
Right, come on, we're starving.
Right, OK, who wants tea, who wants coffee?
I was fascinated to hear her take on it all. From Gary first joining the band to coping with the darker times.
This is phenomenal, Margot. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah.
When Gary comes home and says, oh, I'm going to join this band called Take That, like, what was your first thought then?
Right. So what will you be doing with this band?
Did he say, we're going to wear leather and roll around and cover each other in jelly?
Yeah, well, I knew there was a lot of dancing involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought, oh, gosh.
What's been your proudest moment?
I've got to say the OBE, haven't I, really?
It's a good day.
It has been the ultimate occasion, hasn't it?
It was a good day.
Yeah.
The best bit happened after, really, didn't it?
Yeah.
Because I'd made a stew at home.
Right.
So we raced home. We got the award, done the pictures, raced home. We all tucked into this stew that I'd made earlier, wolfed it, got on a plane, flew to Edinburgh, did a gig. Most amazing gig. The crowd, it was just the perfect day.
And you were there you went the whole...
Did the whole lot, yeah.
Brilliant.
It was lovely. We have a quiz that night.
Yeah, we did a quiz.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, listen,
Yeah.
if you want to have a good time,
Yeah.
come and hang
Finish
with me.
off with a quiz.
Rock and roll, eh,
It's
Margot?
all there.
There was a point after Take That finished. It's quite tough, I think, for anyone to go through, let alone as a parent to see your son going through this kind of stuff. What was it like, that sort of level of criticism?
Sad. Very sad. Not nice, but like they say, it makes a stronger person of you, doesn't it, really?
You can't give up. What's the point in giving up?
Mm.
You know,
What was Gary like to be around at that time?
Quiet and thoughtful, I would say.
Mm.
It was a bit of a no-go subject, wasn't it, really? Yeah.
Well, there's not much to say, really, was there?
No.
It was all being said for me.
Yeah.
Please welcome Gary Barlow and Howard Donald.
It's just myself, Howard Donald, and Gary Barlow here tonight.
In a moment, we'll be hearing the nominations for Best Song Since the Brits Began. But what's it going to be? Will it be Pray or will it be Back for Good?
Could it be Magic?
I didn't write that one.
Oh, sorry. And the winner is... Sorry, Gary. Robbie Williams for Angel.
This man, Robbie Williams, has made me very, very ill. I am on pills because of you. Eh? Go on, have your moment in the limelight. Judas!
Sorry, Gary, but I was always the talented member of the band.
Thank you very much.
I mean,
That's all right.
it's all right now.
It's all right now. It wasn't worse than any of the other ones, but it's just... I don't want to dwell on, like, too much, like, feel sorry for me, but it was...
No, absolutely.
Shit.
Yeah. Right.
Shit to be you. You know, you don't want to be that person. You want to be the one laughing about the person the joke's about. You don't want to be the person that the joke's... Do you know what I mean? That was the worst bit of the whole thing. It wasn't the losing a record deal, and it wasn't, you know, not singing for 7 years, or... It was feeling like a dick every time I turned on a radio show or something. It was feeling like everyone's laughing at you.
I was worried for Gary because I knew he was going to take it seriously. I knew he was going to take it to heart. And sure enough, he did. It was breaking him up.
It was almost like he'd accepted defeat. He got stuck into the biscuits, was lying on his grand piano, in tears, wondering where it all went wrong.
One of my friends ran into him in New York and didn't recognise him because he'd put on so much weight.
He wasn't sleeping great. He was smoking 40 cigarettes a day at least.
He ate a lot. He'd been overindulging in every way possible, and he'd been very down and very depressed.
Gary had the most incredibly strong marriage that would have got him through it. You know, he was becoming a father.
That was as resolute, as strong as ever. And that's great, because if he hadn't had that, I really don't know where he'd have been.
He was really a forgotten man. And when you've had it and lost it, that's the worst thing. When you're used to the adulation and the fame and the success and everybody knowing your name and wanting to be your friend, and then suddenly you're toxic, you know, you're kryptonite. And Gary was kryptonite for years.
I don't know if depression is the right word. I think he was on the road to it at that point because he was showing all the signs, but music was always there.
I think Gary learnt the most important lesson in his life during those years. In Take That, he didn't really know who he was. He wasn't a natural pop star. The wilderness years for Gary was him learning who he was.
But sooner or later, the fighting spirit that is Gary and the talent that is Gary said enough, I can't go on with this.
Oh. Oh, and was this written on this piano?
Yeah. Wished it was tuned.
It doesn't sound bad to me. I was really hoping you were going to start singing then. I really was. So tell me about this piano.
This was the piano that drove me mad eventually, because I swear whenever I used to sit at this piano, I used to write a hit.
Right.
I just did. It was one of those instruments that I'd lift
So
the
what was
lid
written
up.
on this? Back for Good written on this?
Yeah. Yeah. Love Ain't Here Anymore, and
Oh.
Sure, Never Forget, all those songs. And then it slowly drove me crazy, this piano, because obviously after the record deal ended and I was, you know, sort of spending a lot of time in the studio by myself, trying to come up with stuff. It just didn't talk the way it used to talk. Until the point where I remember spending 2 days just looking at it.
So, do you think it would be safe to say that you were probably depressed?
Probably. I think I was driving myself insane at the time. And I wouldn't be told. It's just step away, get out the room.
Beautiful day.
Oh, it's incredible. Incredible day. Oh, jeez.
Come on.
You might be
this
surprised.
This song is born for this weather.
Listen.
It's born for this weather.
You might be surprised, but I've heard all these
but
before.
This is born for a day like this, isn't it? Get on the keys.
Do you know
Go.
what I mean?
Where am I going? Which way is it? Left. Do you harmonise with yourself when you're in the car?
I harmonise every time, every song, ever.
Even ones that
That's
don't really
how
work.
I stay sharp.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you remember what the worst job offers you got were? Did you ever get offered Panto?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Where?
In Liverpool.
Oh, were you tempted?
No.
Why?
No,
You'd be great in Panto.
No, don't be stupid.
You'd be a great Buttons.
I can't
People would
remember
travel
what
miles to see Barlow's Buttons.
I got to Panto and I stopped reading.
What other things?
Celebrity wife swap.
Right. Did they mention which couple you might be swapping
Yeah.
with? Go on.
Melinda Messenger.
No.
Mate, I was really trying to sell it to the wife. It's getting nowhere.
I really think we should do this, Dawn. I really
thought
do.
it'd be great.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
Was there a point where you ate unhealthily, like really unhealthily?
Really.
What would you
Had a
eat
great
then?
time.
What would you eat then?
What wouldn't I eat?
But at your biggest, how big were you?
Just over 17 stone.
Right.
Yeah.
What are you now?
12. Problem was for me as I hit sort of, 25, my career went out the window, and it was like, how do I just change everything? How do I change the way I look? I don't want to be recognised anymore. It was almost like a protest for me.
Really?
Yeah, big time. I knew what I was doing.
Did you?
Yeah, I was enjoying it, and I enjoyed the fact that no one recognised me.
Yeah, because even being in your house then, there was a couple of photos where I thought, oh God, yeah, he really was quite a porker.
I was?
Yeah.
Much heavier than you are now.
Not much.
Oh, yeah.
Not much.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good, eh?
Oh. When you look back on it, given all that sort of wave of criticism, I get no sense of you that's kind of, haha, see, I'm back on top and you thought this and here I am. You know what I mean?
But you know what? That was like 12, 13 years ago.
Yeah, but you can't have forgotten. I mean,
I haven't forgotten.
Like, it must still sit
I haven't
somewhere.
forgotten, but it's fine. It's fine, it's happened, it's done, and there's been a happy ending. But I was still sat at home now, I'd probably be quite bitter. Because I remember reading a lot of really, really personal and hateful stuff. And it's not even what was written, it's what you become. It feeds into your life. You go into a shop to buy some, crisps or something, and they get slipped behind the counter and they put Robbie's CD on, and it's like a bad smell, follows you around. And that led me to then not going out the house for about 8 months at all.
Seriously?
Yeah.
You just didn't go out?
Well, because I was happy at home and no one could get to me there. So when I put weight on, people stopped recognising me, which meant the joke stopped. It was the only time in my life I wanted to be forgotten. It's like, forget me, please, everybody. Forget my name exists. I thought in my mind, I've got to go back to where I started. So I went back to being a songwriter. So we got like 2 or 3 nice songs, and we thought we'd send them out to people. And people weren't listening to the songs. People were just going, oh, we don't want songs from him. And they were like, well, have you heard what they are? No, we just don't think it's right for our... So it got to the point where we were putting another person's name on these CDs because my name was, it just was turning people off straight away. It's like when you're not hot, nobody wants anything to do with you whatsoever.
In 2005, a TV documentary was made which reunited the Take That Boys for the first time in 10 years. The response to seeing the band together again was massive.
When we came back after all those years and we did that documentary, none of us knew how it was going to go at all. And then the next morning, my phone was filled with calls saying, you know, we've got incredible figures for the show. There's a guy that wants to put you all back on tour. There's some that want to do a big piece. It was like people wanted us back. And for the first time in years, I got on the train that morning, I sat in my seat, and I just took my glasses off and took my hat off and just thought, I'm happy to be me today. It was a very poignant moment, that was. And that was the day I thought, I'm gonna lose this weight as well. And it was like everything changed that day.
Off the back of the success of the documentary, the four Take That Boys announced that they were going to reunite for a greatest hits tour.
People realised there was a real nostalgia for the band and they were missed.
We thought everyone had forgotten about us, but it seems like they haven't. So I think we're really excited and we promised to put on an amazing show.
And it just all fell back into place. And I don't think they could believe it, especially Gary, who'd gone through the hard times. He didn't expect to be given a break.
And I remember we signed them up in Birmingham. They were doing a show in Birmingham. And we'd signed the contracts. It was all quick kind of celebration and great. Look forward to hearing the music. And as I was going, Gary slipped a CD into my pocket for me to listen to on the way back. And it had Patience on it. And I just kind of thought, you're smart. You knew. You know something's going to happen.
Just have a little patience.
And he was like, I still know what the public like to listen to. I don't care who criticises me, how much out of favour I am, I can still write songs that people like. And he can. And that was his way out of this.
Stop. Just hold me close inside your arms.
It was the second coming. It was the second coming of Take That, and it was massive.
If you have something or someone in your life that you really like, sometimes you have to have that thing taken away to make you realise how much you like it. What about if you don't even know how much you like it and then it's taken away? And then that person comes back from the dead, smiling, warm, happy, and better than ever. That's rocket fuel.
2010 saw the moment every Take That fan had dreamed of. Robbie Williams rejoined and the band were finally all back together.
Funny because we always knew as a band we'd get Rob back one day. And
Did you really?
Yeah, we always knew it would happen.
But how did you know that?
Because it was always going to happen, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yeah, it was. It was like the natural end to the story. But for me now, the interesting bit is that actually what happens next.
Now that your solo record has done so well, I was almost expecting to sort of feel like that was a greater priority to you now. You talk like Take That is still...
Oh, it is. It's number one. It's the one thing that everything else moves for. The other things like TV and a solo record, they're just things I do to fill the time in. You know, because I like to work and it's being offered to me.
Yeah.
So why not do it?
Gary has thrown himself into a multitude of projects, from climbing Kilimanjaro for comic relief to being head judge on X Factor. These last few years have been full on for Gary.
We went to watch the X Factor being filmed at the O2 and then got in a cab and went to Wembley to watch the boys perform at Wembley. I got back to the hotel after the gig. Gary called me and he said, "El, what do you reckon of the tour?" And I was nearly in tears. I'll be honest, I found it really emotional. And I told him, you know, I said, "Gaz, it's a funny thing going through it and coming out the other end of it. As good as he has, I'm proud of him."
He's in a position now where he's almost untouchable. You'd really have to think hard if a negative story came up about Gary, because the public backlash would be so strong against you if you presented a story they didn't like.
He has leaped into a new category, his own category. It's the Gary Barlow category. It's not definable yet.
Gary Barlow is now part of music establishment, and that's a very different place to be in.
You know, he's kind of following in my footsteps, and I love that.
If you've got the Queen asking you to sort out a few things for you, you're not going to be stuck for things to do over the next few years.
He does this thing where he goes, "What do you want me to sing?" And you go, "Anything you want, what do you think?"
And we talked about what songs, and it's great, you know, I like the lad.
I'm sure you'd want me to thank Gary Barlow for helping to make the whole thing possible.
Do you feel like everything you've done, the Jubilee, is so positive right now that do you still get negativity at you if you look at things like Twitter?
Twitter's the only thing because I've done X Factor, I was on it a lot, but I actually quite like it. The best use of something like Twitter is for the last 12 months I've had this girl on there who her best friend must be my biggest fan, and she's been on there saying, "I want you to come to my friend's wedding and sing at it."
Right.
And we're arranging, I'm going to turn up and sing, and her friend doesn't know anything about it.
It's like the best friend in the world.
And it's funny as well, because like I've been to gigs and stuff as well, I've performed, and in the audience I've seen a sign with the hashtag "Get Gary to Lou's Wedding." So this girl has been everywhere, and I've seen it, which is why I want to do it.
It'll be incredible. It'll be the best. I feel for the groom in a way. Like, he's who my thought goes to. But he's going to be like, "Oh, it's just me and you, babe.
I know.
We're having the best time." She's just going to go like that. "See you later."
Please,
Gary!
Gary!
Oh my God!
It's going to be good.
You're the love of my life.
True to his word, 3 weeks later, after 12 months of incessant tweeting and campaigning from her bridesmaid Emily, Gary arrived to surprise Lou at her wedding.
Put your head against my life. What do you hear? A million words just trying to make a song of the year. Close your eyes, but don't forget what you have heard. Man who's trying to say words that make me scared. A million love songs later, and here I am trying to tell you
Lou, really personal that. And if you like me, you call me Lou. Massive congrats on your special day, love, Gary B. 6 kisses. Best autograph in the world.
Million chances pass me by, a million chances to hold you. Take me back to where I used to be.
He's much more relevant and important, without being too grandiose about him, than now just his music. Because he's representing causes, projects, certain family values.
He's developing the most phenomenal songbook. These songs are going to last way after none of us are here. I'm just excited about what's next.
I think he's got a lot of joy in what he's doing. I think that this last album was quite cathartic for him. I think this is the album that he wanted to make for his second album. You know, I think there's a lot of that in it.
Well, when Gary released the solo album this time, he must have been slightly anxious knowing what had gone before. And it was exactly the same, you know, he was at the peak, he was there to be shot at, you know, he couldn't have been more popular, things couldn't be going better for him, so there was a risk there, absolutely.
It takes guts, and for him to work it so successfully commercially and to make the album he wanted to make, you know, it's incredible.
When we did Face to Face, it was lovely because it was just a perfect song for two people to play the piano to sing.
It's the real first proper true Gary Barlow record as to who he is as a person, a songwriter. It was an incredible personal record, and he'd gone through he'd gone through tragedy personally.
They've had to deal with some really serious personal stuff in his family the last couple of years. And that changes things, it has to.
Tragically, a few days before Gary was due to sing to close the 2012 Olympics, his fourth child, Poppy, was stillborn.
How long did it take you to write that album? Since I saw your last album?
About 3 months. It was a really intuitive, problem-free record to write.
Written in this room?
Most of it, yeah.
Do you remember which songs came first?
Sort of those first few days, it's often stuff you discard. Once you get those first 2 or 3 days out the way, you expect things to start happening, but I didn't expect Let Me Go to appear on the 4th day. And that's unusual in a record-making environment to get a single like that so early.
The first time I listened to Let Me Go,
yeah,
and I thought it was this unbelievably up, like, oh, and I could imagine people dance. I thought, this is incredible. And then I listened to it again and I thought the same. And then I felt like the third time I listened to it, I actually heard it. And I came to the conclusion that that song was written by your stillborn child.
Yeah. Yeah, I will talk about a little bit of this. But
you don't have to talk about any of it.
No, I don't mind to, because, you know, I don't like the beat to be things that are unsaid, really, but there's a point where I'll stop in respect to my wife, because, you know, like I said to you earlier, there's very little that's personal in my life. People know about a lot of things. And it's, you know, from that thing happening to my dad's passing, there's a lot of them in this record with me. And it's funny with Let Me Go, because I didn't want to have a sad album. I really didn't. And I tried for it to not be. I made a real effort for it to not be a sad record. I wanted it to be a celebration record, because that's where we're at in our lives with the whole thing that happened. And it makes me really happy when I see people going crazy to that song. It really is, because it should be a celebration, that song, because in some respects, it's alive, that record, and those lyrics and what it relates to, and it keeps a life and a flame in the whole thing. And I love it. I love that it has got 2 elements to it. I love that on one hand you think this is just the most fun ever, I've had to this record. And then when you start going beneath that, you really, you see, you know, what it's saying. It's not my voice, it's someone else's.
Full of sadness, broken hearts, only me to blame. Every single part, science or religion, make this whole. To love but never love, to have but never hold. It's a life alone and a desperate need to be held, to be loved. So this is gonna take a bit of getting used to, but I know what's right for you. Fly high, let me go.
What does the future hold for Gary Barlow?
After this?
Yeah.
Not much.
I think we all recognise that this is a pinnacle.
I can't go back on Jonathan Ross after this.
Who?
Then you know this is gonna take a bit of getting used to.
You know, 9 years ago, you couldn't have imagined that you'd be talking about 5 nights at Wembley Stadium and #1 solo records and records as a 4-piece, a 5-piece. Like, it must be so. You must be so proud.
I remember feeling for about a year like I've got no future as an artist or a writer or anything to do with music. And that was a long 12 months. That was a long 12 months before there was any kind of hope or glimmer. So to look forward now at this point and look into the future, it's amazing. It really is.
This is gonna take a bit of getting used to, but I know what's right for you. Let me go.
I've got bad news for everyone. Elton's busy.
What?
You promised. But he did say if James Corden's there, can he do his part?
Doesn't shock me.
He's the only person, he said, that could do
that can
it.
channel Elton.
That could channel.
Okay, for
Are you
one
up
day
for this,
only.
James?
I'll be Elton John.
Don't
I
be
asked
on the
this room to be full of 1,000 white lilies. All right. Okay, guys. I'll bring you in on a tight 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. It's got to be tight with it. Just watch me, and I'll.
That's what you are to me.
The last few days have been brilliant. They say you should never meet your heroes. Well, they obviously never met Gary Barlow.
Face to face, oh, when the music plays, so standing side by side with the past behind us. No one can take your place from the face to face.
Okay, guys. Some notes. Sloppy.